Alright guys, so obviously we got the Mr. Olympia coming up in less than a month now, and I just wanted to give you guys my predictions for the top 6 now. Obviously, before any of you guys get butthurt about it, individually these guys are pretty much perfect in their physiques, and it's hard for anybody to really critique them because no one critiquing them is really on the level that they're on. But that's just individually. You know, the sport of bodybuilding is judged in comparison. So when I compare these guys and talk about their body parts and talk about lagging body parts, just keep in mind, guys, I'm talking about them in comparison to other bodybuilders, not them in comparison to me or someone else that's just like a beginning lifter, because obviously I'm in no place to make that comparison. So don't get butthurt. I'm comparing them to each other. So when I say a body part's lagging, don't be like, oh, well, your triceps don't look anything like. You guys know what I fucking mean. Let's be intelligent here. All right. So the top 6 in no particular order. First, I'm just gonna say who my top 6 picks are. So I'm gonna go with Jay Cutler, Kai Green, Phil Heath, Dexter Jackson, with Sean Roden, and Mamadou Elsbaye, or Big Ramy. Out of those top 6, here's how I think they're going to place, and here's why. Obviously, a lot of people would be in agreement that Kai Green and Phil Heath are pretty much competing for the top 2 spots. I think that's pretty fair to say. I would agree with that. I think Kai Green and Phil Heath are definitely fighting for those top 2 spots there, and it's not really a comparison for anyone else below them. I'm gonna come back to that later because that's a little bit controversial, the Kai Green versus Phil Heath thing. So I'm gonna get back to that. Third, I'm going to say Dexter. Lately Dexter's been on a little bit of a comeback streak. There's a new Dexter now. I mean, for a while he was looking kind of flat, he was looking kind of small. Then he came back and won the Arnold, looked fantastic, looked sharp, looked good. So I think Dexter getting with George Farah as his trainer has changed a lot of things, and Dexter's kind of on a new winning streak, and Dexter looks good now. So I'm gonna put Dexter in third. And I say that because if you compare Dexter to a guy like Sean Roden, he's been in the game longer. I think he's got a more polished physique than Sean Roden. I think Sean Roden is a little bit more aesthetic than Dexter, but Dexter's just more polished and more symmetrical and more proportional. I think Dexter's just a better bodybuilder than Sean Roden. He's just been in the game longer, and I just, in my personal opinion, I think Dexter would place higher than Sean Roden this year in the Olympia. Now that he's with George Farah and he's got a new training and nutrition program. I'm going to give Jay 4. I think Jay Cutler's going to get 4th. A lot of people might be upset about me saying that, but you know, I love Jay Cutler. He's one of my favorite bodybuilders. He's been out for a while now, and I know a lot of you guys have seen the pictures of him when he lost a bunch of weight after his bicep surgery. He tore that tendon in his bicep and he was out for that year. I think he was out for about 2 years. He just missed one Olympia. So he was out for that period of time, and he shrunk quite a decent bit. Obviously he gained that size back, but whether that size is real quality muscle or not, well, that's yet to be seen. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in 4th because we don't really know what he's looking like right now. Historically, if you look back at bodybuilding, you know, bodybuilders don't really have more than one comeback when they come to win the Olympia. Jay Cutler's already lost his title to Dexter Jackson in 2008. He came back and won it in 2009. And that's really like a once-in-a-career type of thing as far as bodybuilding is concerned, to come back and win an Olympia after losing it. So I feel like Jay Cutler's comeback has already been used up. I'm not hating on Jay Cutler, obviously. He's an incredible bodybuilder, and I look up to him. I love Jay Cutler. But I just gotta say, I don't see him in that top three spot as of right now. So I'm gonna put Dexter ahead of Jay, just because Dexter's kind of on a winning streak, and he's just been looking good lately, and I could see him placing 3rd. And Dexter, a lot of people forget Dexter Jackson is a former Mr. Olympia winner. He won the Mr. Olympia. So for him to be in third anyway is kind of a lot of people kind of seeing him as an underdog, not putting him up there with those top three. I think a lot of people don't remember or forget that he was Mr. Olympia. So I'm going to go Phil Heath, Kai Green, Dexter Jackson, Jay Cutler. Then I'm going to go with Sean Roden and then Big Ramy. Now the reason I say that is Sean Roden is a little bit more aesthetic than Mamadou Els Baye, Big Ramy, and for that reason, and his third place finish last year in the Olympia, I feel like that puts him ahead of a lot of the other bodybuilders that are going to be coming up for that 6th place, 5th place spot. So I feel like getting that 3rd place spot last year definitely solidifies Sean Roden's placing within the top 6 this year. I think he's going to at least be in the top 6. And Ramy, I don't think he's going to be really ahead in the top 6 because he's new to bodybuilding. And whether you guys want to admit it or not, you know, there's a lot of politics involved in bodybuilding. I'm going to get to that in a minute with Kai Green. There's a lot of politics involved in IFBB pro bodybuilding because let's just be real. They're not going to let a guy come from nowhere and win the Olympia. The judging isn't 100% based on their physiques. There's politics involved. There's money involved. It's all about who you know. It's a lot to do with who you know. And Ramy just doesn't really have those connections yet. And that's why I think he's not going to place very high, but I could see him in the top 6. So let's talk about some other guys that could be in the top 6, but I don't think they will be. But they are potential Mr. Olympias or potentially deserving of being in the top 6. Now, a guy that I love is Cedric McMillan, but he's kind of let me down lately because in some of the recent competitions he's been competing in, his conditioning is just off. He's been placing bad in competitions. He placed decent in the Arnold. 6th place was decent for his first pro show, I believe. I'm a big fan of his physique and a big fan of his classic look. I love the look that Cedric McMillan has, and I thought he could really come and change bodybuilding because he was big, he had that mass, but he also had that aesthetic, 70s, 80s bodybuilding look. He just looked good. But his conditioning's never dialed in the way it needs to be to really be a serious contender. So as far as this year, I'm having my doubts that he's going to be in the top 6, but he could be. He has the potential to be. He's qualified for the Olympia, so we'll see what happens with that. Another guy that I really like is Ben Pekulski. Placed 2nd in the Arnold this year. I think he's got a great physique. He just always comes in super hard. He comes in hard as nails, and his physique and conditioning are just perfect. I love Ben Pekulski's conditioning when he comes in. He's one of the most conditioned bodybuilders when he competes, and I'm super impressed by the sheer muscularity, the amount of muscle, and the condition of the muscle. Big fan of Ben Pekulski. I think he could also be a contender for that top 6th place spot against Ramy. The only reason I have Ramy this far up is his tremendous size advantage over so many of these guys. He's got like 50, 60 pounds on some of these guys that are top 10 Olympia contenders. And the people that say it's not about size does matter in bodybuilding. It's not everything, but when you have that big of an advantage, it's going to put you ahead. So that's why I have him where I have him. Another guy that people might get disappointed that I didn't mention is Branch Warren. I think he could contend for the top 6. I do not see him in the top 3 up there fighting for the Mr. Olympia. I don't see him really in the top 5. Maybe that 6th place spot. Now, the reason I say this is, first of all, I'm a fan of Branch Warren. I think he's cool. His training videos are awesome. Everybody loves to watch a Branch Warren training video. He's a badass. We can all agree on that. I've met him several times. I can say that. He's a cool, very humble bodybuilder. I've met a lot of bodybuilders, and some of them are assholes. And Branch Warren's a cool guy. I actually sat next to him in the audience of one of the Arnold Classic seminars. I sat next to Branch Warren like he was watching the seminar also, and I was sitting next to him. I didn't want to be a dick and bother him and talk to him and shit, so I just sat there. I shook his hand. But anyway, the reason why I say Branch Warren isn't really a top 6 contender is I saw a video recently of him and Phil Heath in the off-season posing for a crowd at some sort of expo or something like that. And Branch Warren, to me, You know, I know it's the off season, and bodybuilders obviously don't look anything like they're going to look on stage the day of the Olympia. But Branch Warren, just you could tell his body is just starting to look fatigued. He's been in the game for a while. His placings are starting to fall a little bit short of where they were. Again, I am a fan of him, but you know, I don't think he's going to place as high as a lot of people think he's going to place in the Olympia. I'm not hating on him. He's got some of the best legs in the game. But I do have to say, I think Ben Pekulski deserves to place ahead of Branch Warren. A lot of us know about the drama between Branch Warren and Ben Pekulski at the Mr. Olympia 2012 Meet the Olympians press conference, the pre-Olympia press conference last year. There's a lot of shit talking between Ben Pekulski and Branch Warren, and I've got to say, I think Ben Pekulski deserves to place higher than Branch Warren this year. I do have to say that. So maybe Branch Warren will place in the top 6, but I don't see him fighting for that top 3 spot. Now back to Kai Green and Phil. Now the reason I don't think Kai Green is going to win the Mr. Olympia now or anytime soon is surely because of the politics of bodybuilding. Now I'm a fan of bodybuilding. I'm a fan of Kai Green. But the fact is, there's politics. It's just a fact. Mr. Olympia, he represents the IFBB, like it or not. During the time that he's the Mr. Olympia, he is the ambassador for bodybuilding. He's going all over the country, signing pictures, signing autographs, making appearances, guest posings. He's just representing the sport. And part of the reason I don't think Kai Green is going to win has to do a little bit of his long-winded answers and his long-winded speeches. Now, Kai Green, obviously a lot of us know he's a very articulate speaker. And often he just rambles on and on and on and on and on. I think a lot of you would agree with this. Some people that are a little bit younger might think Kai Green's just a genius, deep philosophical guy. But if you really listen to what he's saying, he's really just saying basic things, just really repetitively and really drawing out their explanations. He's not really a genius. He's just kind of using bigger words than he needs to use, and just things like that. And for that reason, I feel like he's not going to win the Mr. Olympia because of the politics involved, and he's going to have to go around the country representing bodybuilding. I feel like that's not the face they want to give bodybuilding. Also, the grapefruit incident. I don't know if you guys know about the grapefruit incident. Obviously, you know, gay for pay and homosexuals are accepted in today's generation society. I accept them. I mean, I don't have any problem with it. But the fact is, Kai Green did a video where he fucked a grapefruit. I'm dead serious. It's out there. Most of the bodybuilding community knows about it. And I've just got to say, you know, whether we like it or not, I think the people who are pulling the strings behind the IFBB, you know, they know that that video makes him. It's going to make people not take him seriously when they find out the video. And if Kai Green wins the Mr. Olympia, people are going to be doing a lot more, you know, Googling Kai Green, and they're going to find this video. And as more and more people find this video, more and more people are going to think bodybuilding's more of a joke when they see this video. This guy's the best bodybuilder in the world, and he fucked a grapefruit for money. They're going to see that video, and they're not going to take bodybuilding as seriously. That's why I think he's not going to beat Phil Heath, because Phil Heath right now is a great representative for bodybuilding. He's pretty much squeaky clean. You know, there's nothing bad you can really say about Phil Heath. He's got no bad history. He's really deeply involved in social media and responding to his fans and responding to his emails. He's just really deeply rooted as the face of bodybuilding right now, and I just don't think Kai Green's going to be able to take him out until maybe the grapefruit thing blows over a little bit, or until Phil Heath really, really starts lagging, because it's not 100% about. It's not 100% about the politics. It's more or less the physique. It comes down to the physiques, and I do believe Phil Heath has a better physique as far as what they're looking for in bodybuilding than Kai Green. Kai Green has a freaky physique. He has a crazy, sick physique. I'm not taking that away from Kai Green. But as far as proportions and symmetry, more proportions, I'm going to say. I think Kai Green's biceps definitely overshadow the rest of his arms. You know, you could say having big biceps isn't a flaw, but in bodybuilding it is. And just things like that. Some parts of his body are freakier than others. I think his back is freakier than the rest of his body, and that takes away from the rest of his body and takes away from his aesthetic flow. And just things like that. He's a crazy, freaky bodybuilder. I think we can all agree on that. But I feel like overall, it's not really going to win you the Olympia. It's going to come down to proportions and symmetry and just the more specifications than just being freaky. So that's my thing, guys. Those are my predictions. Thanks for watching.